Hey guys, welcome to the Punk Rock Condition, where we explore, discover, and appreciate all things punk rock. If that interests you, please subscribe. Here on today's episode, we are doing episode 1 of PRC interviews because I am happy to announce that Jan and Curtis from the Shell Corporation took some time out of their day to sit down with me and answer my questions. I could have talked to these guys for a lot longer. I had so much stuff to talk to them about. But honestly, we talked about the formation of the band, their entry point to punk rock. There were some interesting anecdotes that came up about Bret Gurewitz, Fat Mike, even Tony Sly came up. And so it was just a great conversation. Also talked a little bit about politics because, as Shell Corporation says, this is not the time for kumbaya, and it hasn't been like this before. So, I did an appreciation video on these guys about how fantastic they are. I'll put the link up on the screen here if you guys want to check that out. If you're unfamiliar with Shell Corporation, I invite you to go in, check out their whole discography, man. They got 3 great full-length releases and a couple of unbelievable EPs. They have a lot to say. Shell Corporation's really great band. So, it meant a lot to me that these guys took the time to sit down and just chat this out. It was really a lot of fun. So I invite you to, take a load off, strap in, and enjoy this interview that I did with Jan and Curtis from the Shell Corporation. So yeah, here we go.
And that was the second time I got crabs. So, oh, hey guys.
Yeah. Let's leave that out. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the Punk Rock Condition. I'm sitting here with Jan and Curtis from Shell Corporation, who were so generous with their time to sit down and have a conversation with me today. How you guys doing?
Well, tired. Here.
Yeah, Jan, you said you're in Rhode Island. Curtis, where are you at?
Woodland Hills, Los Angeles area, kind of like, valley.
Yeah. What are you guys doing for work nowadays? How do you spend most of your time?
Jan?
Well, I fly airplanes. I just was at Dulles Airport and flew back, so that's why I'm kind of gassed right now. But yeah.
Full time, huh? I mentioned that in the video. I knew that you were a pilot, but I didn't know if it was like commercial or private thing.
It's private charter. So yeah. People say, hey, take us from point A to point B, and then I, fly the taxi to fly them from point A to point B.
So your arms must be really tired.
They're exhausted. Yeah, I just flew in from Martha's Vineyard.
That's exciting. How about you, Curtis?
I'm a creative director of print and 3D for movie advertising. So movie posters and shit like that. Sick.
Yeah, and we were worried that maybe a certain client might butt in on our interview. Or so good.
We'll see. I'm technically still working right now, so I just
That's how you can multitask.
I'm just gonna I might, if I look over here and start typing, it's no offense to you, sorry.
No sweat. Yeah, I keep telling myself I got to look at the camera, but whatever. So yeah, are you guys doing anything creatively, musically right now that's not necessarily Shell Corporation? Any music projects going on?
I got an electric drum set. I'm teaching myself how to play drums poorly. Oh yeah, you got one too.
I have one too, right there. I swear to God.
Yeah, so both me and Jan are learning how to play drums. Coincidentally, it's pretty damn fun, actually.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
I hit a wall long ago with trying to get better. It's like I can do a little bit, enough to tell a drummer in a band with me maybe what to do, but I can't do it.
Well, right. But yeah, it's great brain exercise for sure. It gives me a little bit more respect for why drummers are so weird. But
yeah.
Well, cool. So listen, Jan, you had mentioned in one of our just back and forths a really cool story about your entry point to punk rock and the little Bret Gurewitz anecdote. You care to share that again?
That was me, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Could you care to share that again?
Yeah, no, my aunt does nails for people, right? What do you call it? Esthetician or no? Is that right? No. Is that right? Anyways, she does nails for, and as when I was a kid, I don't remember, I was 10 or 11 or something, and I had just started to getting into Metallica and stuff after listening to Poison and CNC Music Factory, and so I was starting to I started getting some real music, and she was like, oh well, I think my client's son's in a band, and I was like, all right. And she's like, well, let me. And so she went to the client and she did her nails one day, and she comes back and she's like, oh yeah, her son's in a band. Here's some T-shirts and an album, and it was Bad Religion. And And I was just like, all right, cool. And then I'm like, I don't know who Bad Religion is, but that's fine. Sure, I'm sure he's in some nice band. And I listened to it, and I was like, that's it. That was the thing I've been looking for right there.
Game
uh,
changer.
I met him years and years later when I was super hammered, and I tried to tell him that story, but I was fall down drunk, and he was not appreciating the story because
Were you playing with them or you were just seeing
no,
them or
I was in West Hollywood for their Halloween. They do a big giant Halloween, and he was friends with somebody I was friends with, and we all walked together. But I didn't know he was going to be there, so me and my friend got really drunk and drank pretty much a full bottle of Jameson between us. And I show up and I just go, Mr. Brett. And I just feel like, and I kept just being like, "You're in Bad Religion," and he's like, "Yeah." I'd be
Yeah.
like, "No, you're in Bad Religion." And you're
He's
like,
like, yeah, I
"Yeah,
know.
yeah, I know,
I
yeah, I
start.
know." And then I tried to tell him the story of his sister and all that stuff, and he's just like, "Yeah, okay, buddy, go
All
on."
right. Well,
But
were you embarrassed the next day? Like,
oh
oh
yeah,
shit,
oh
I
yeah,
blew it.
because he was perfectly fine, and I was just a raging asshole. Like
Yeah.
it was not like a story where I'm like, "Wow, Mr. Brett's not cool." No,
Right.
it was me being a total problem. And yeah, I tried to tell him the story of like that he gave me a T-shirt when I was like 10, and he was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
I did. Oh my God. I had a similar situation with Joey Cape one time where I just wanted to tell him about how great I thought he was, and I ended up embarrassing myself. And like, it's still with me. It still
Yeah.
makes me a little embarrassed, a little cringe.
I saw Fat Mike at a Frank Turner show. This real when Frank Turner was real small, and he played this little cafe. And I go into the bathroom, and I'm at the urinal, and Fat Mike is right next to me, and I look over and go, "Oh, I'm a big fan." And he goes, and Fat Mike turns to me and goes, "Of pissing?"
That's fucking great, man.
And then he just walks out, and I was like, "Oh my god, that was amazing!"
Yeah, that's better than anything that we could have actually said to each other. That
Yeah,
punchline's worth it.
yeah, it was so good.
So, Jan, how about you? Like entry point to punk rock? Do you remember like what it was where that where that switch went? Yep. Okay.
It was just the basic Nirvana, and then Green Day, and then someone's older brother said, "Actually, these bands are okay, but you should check out this," and gave me a Dead Kennedys tape, and then it was kind of that's where I went from there.
Yeah, so were you initially drawn to like politically driven stuff like Dead Kennedys and like stuff that you ended up like kind of writing about?
Oh, that's like chicken and egg. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it was formative, but was I drawn to it because I was already interested in that, or yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've always sort of been on more on the political side of things. Dead Kennedys, Bad Religion.
Propaganda.
There's a fine line though between being preachy and being kind of smart about it,
Yeah,
and writing lyrics that are not going to be so on the nose that 10 or 15 years from now people listen to it and you're sneering, like "fuck you, Reagan," and people are like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool, man." So
yeah, like let's write about like kind of broader concepts about hypocrisy or corruption or things of that nature that are going to have some staying power.
right, that's the idea. So those are the bands I like the best. I mean, you listen to Dead Kennedys records today, and that's there is some stuff that's on the nose, but a lot of it is still stands up, and it's
It
been
still stands up.
40 years later. So
And it's actually depressing when that becomes apparent. Like shit, man. I'm listening to a song from 1993 and it's like just as relevant today. Like I didn't think it was going to go this way, god damn it.
yeah.
Thought we would have made some more progress by now. But okay, so take me back to when you guys initially like start the band. How do you guys come together and you decide, "Hey, these are the people we're going to push forward with and start to write together."
Curtis.
Well, me and Jan have known each other since what, second grade?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh man, that's so awesome. I
Yeah, so
love that.
we were playing, Mike Tyson's Punch Out since we were like, little kids.
Yeah.
And we ended up me and Jan both took guitar lessons at the same place with the same dude. And so like we would be put together because we were the only ones who liked jazz. So we would both be playing like a breezing or something like that together, which I can
Yeah,
still kind of
Mr.
play.
Greasy. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so Bill Benson, and so we've known each other our whole lives, and then and we've been in a bunch of bands together. I think I was in a different band that toured a bunch for a little while, and then I left that abruptly that we won't speak of. And
Fair
then
enough.
I came back and I was pretty burnt out, and I was just like going back to work and whatever. And then Jan had joined this other band, and so and they needed another guitar player. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fun. I'll just do it because I like Jan, So like, so I started.
Right.
We
Well,
started playing together.
and like all I'm gonna do is play guitar. I'm not writing music. I'm not planning
Yeah.
anything. I'm not getting that involved. I'm just playing guitar.
Yeah, just showing up and playing, and it was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And it was fun, but it kind of reignited, like playing in a band with Jan again had reignited me loving doing this stuff.
Well,
And
and then you ended up writing half of that record. So
yeah, and then
outwent that. Yeah.
I can't because I can't help myself.
Yeah.
But then me and Jan, we were starting to, because we had contacts in Europe and stuff. Jan did. We booked some European stuff. We did a European tour with that band, and then we had another European tour booked, and the band sort of backed out, and we were like, but we still want to go. Like, and I think me and Jan had gotten back the touring bug at that point, and we were like, well, we still want to go on this tour. It's like a 5-week tour that's already booked. This band, the rest of the band didn't want to go, and so we were just like, I wonder if we can create a band, because it was a support tour. We were like, can we just fake it
Right.
and create a band? And it
Just
was
to
like,
get the fucking experience out of it.
just to go.
Yeah, just to go.
Just
Yeah.
to
sure.
go and have fun. Can we just like fake a band together in like 3 weeks? And like, because it was like months away or something. And
Yeah, it was like May, and the tour we were going in September, I think. So we had a summer to do it.
You had enough
Yeah.
time for a crash course.
Yes.
yeah, so we were just like, and the booking agent was like, well, I don't really like this, but like, if you guys can like pretend you're a band and like, and show me something, make it look real, like I'll put you on the tour still. And so we just spent every night at Jan's little like your little cabin house or whatever you had over there, and we wrote a record in like and we wrote and recorded most of the first record in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was real quick.
And by first record, are we talking Time and Pressure or Force Majeure?
Force Majeure.
Okay, because I was looking at those release dates and I kind of didn't know which one came first. I thought it was Force Majeure, but I wasn't 100%
Yeah.
because it was both around 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
So then, yeah, we just kind of like, and I made a website. We thought of, Jan had made a propaganda cover, and it has the Shell Corporation in it, and that sounded funny because it's a fake company, right? So we were like,
Right.
we're a fake band.
What an awesome thing that it's got another layer to it. It's got another layer to it.
We thought that was funny. No one ever got it later, but like, and then we needed other people, and we knew Sean really well. And so that was an easy no-brainer. We didn't have a drummer. So the first, that first half of the record, our buddy who engineered most of our stuff, who's the drummer, Hoobastank actually is the drummer.
No shit.
Yeah. So he played drums on it because he was just like, well, somebody has to play drums. So he just, he didn't even learn the songs. He just played along.
Well, it's better than Hoobastank.
Yeah, so he's the drummer on half the first record, and then so we at least had like a bunch of stuff out. We put a 7-inch out so that we'd have something to sell, and I think by the time we left, we had a first record to go with, didn't we?
Did we?
Or did we just have the 7-inch? Or we might have just had the 7.
No, we had CDs because you could turn CDs around really quick.
That's
we definitely
right.
had CDs for that first tour.
Yeah. And we met Jake. We met Jake at Punk Rock Bowling.
And I mean, he had experience, right? Like he was bringing songwriting experience, touring experience, legitimate chops to the table right out of the gate.
And we were very surprised he agreed.
Yeah.
We sort of cornered him at Punk Rock Bowling, and we're like, no, you don't have a choice. You're doing this. And he was an enthusiastic yes. So we're okay.
He was in between stuff, and we played him a couple songs that we had recorded, and he was like, okay. And we were like, no, but you're in real bands. We're not. This is like, and he's just like, no, I'm in. But he couldn't do that first tour because he had just had a kid, so we had a fill in for that first tour. But as soon as we got back, he was all in.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like, so how did that tour go? Was it well received? I mean, you guys were like, you didn't even have a whole lot of experience going in. You're like hitting the ground, rocking it out.
Yeah, I mean, we sucked for some of it, and we had a blast, and we met a lot of really formative friends on that tour that we ended up touring with later on, like Uncommon Men from Mars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's you guys did the split with them. Yeah.
They became some of our best friends, and we toured with them a bunch in Europe. And we met them on that tour, I think, or maybe we met them on the tour before, and they played
Yeah,
some.
we met him on that with the tour before, but that was the first time. That was the time that we got back, and Ed from Unco said, "Yo, we want to come to the United States. Let's trade tours." That
Right.
was
Okay. Well, so I definitely want to talk about some tour stuff and some people that you guys like played with, respect, etc. But before we get too far away from the songwriting, you had said Curtis had wrote half the record. What does your songwriting process look like? I mean, because the lyrical content is just it's fantastic. It really is. It's like my favorite version of punk rock. So like what does that look like? Do you come in with lyrics or I wrote half of this? Let's do what I wrote, or do you guys all did you guys all get in a room together and kind of put your heads together like that?
well. It changed over. The first couple records we were in a room together, the whole band. So we'd all bring kind of sketches of songs together, and it usually starts with email. Curtis will write some chords and hum some bars and maybe have a hook, a lyrical hook, and then I'll go and flesh it out and then send that recording around, and then Sean will write a bass part and send it to Jake, and he'll write drums, and we'll just kind of do it that way. And that's how it's been, more or less. Yeah, the songs, the kernel of the song comes from Curtis or me, and write all the lyrics and then the hook, the melody, and then we go back and forth. We record a take, send something to the guys, they'll record drums or come up with an idea, and if we have a rehearsal, which hasn't happened in
Too long. Too
for the
long.
last two records. But Jake will, show up and just, Sean, both those guys will just show up and with parts written that are awesome. And then once we get into the studio, which happened recording the Fucked record, was everyone had their parts down, and we get in the studio, and then we even continued changing things through the magic of Pro Tools of like, you know what, we don't need an extra chorus in this song.
Right.
Also, if I have to do that live, I'm gonna like pass out and die. So why don't we just take that out? Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Well, it sounds pretty collaborative. That's super cool. I wonder, so ideologically, right? Like you guys have a stance and you have something to say. Has there ever been any issues or like you guys are just like-minded? So it's like this is what we have to say collectively and everyone's cool with it, no issues.
I mean, when
Uh,
Sean bought that Cybertruck, I had to say, no, I think we're all pretty.
No, I love that. I love that. I mean, I just
We've
wonder.
all been on the same page. Me and Jan have known each other for so long. I think our thought processes has like grown at the same time together, right? Like, and
yeah.
when we met Sean, it was like this is like a brother from another mother. Like he might as well have known him our whole lives. And then same with Jake. It was like
Yeah.
I think we were very aligned on all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, there was never creative differences. If someone didn't like something or thought it could be better or change, you just say, like, yeah, I'm not sure about that part. Maybe we could do better than that. And I never took it personally. It was like, we almost certainly can do better. Let's hit it. Let's make everyone happy here. Let's try to, but no one ever pushed back on anything I ever had to write
Right.
lyrically, that I can remember. I mean,
yeah,
must have
and I
happened
think
once.
that first record, I think I wrote some of the lyrics to a few of the songs, and then I realized quickly I don't like this. Like I like Jan's lyrics way more than mine. I feel I'm in advertising, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm trying to like if I write a song, I feel like I'm trying to like get people to like buy something. And
Right.
but when I would hear Jan's lyrics, I'd be like, no, that actually sounds like someone who has a thought out point of view with like interesting take on something, right? Like
Yeah.
that's coming from the heart. And so quickly I stopped writing lyrics because I was like, I want I, I want it to feel like we give a shit. If this never goes anywhere, which arguably probably didn't. Like
Yeah, what were your initial goals? Was everybody like, "Yo, let's make this like our life. This is what we want. We want this thing to sustain."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we hit it so hard early on and for so long. I mean, that was the goal, was like, yeah, what if we could make a living off of this and just like do this?
Yeah, it's shocking to me that because I mean, like you guys really are pound for pound as good as anybody as far as I'm concerned. My initial like, you know how I found out about you guys, and I'm interested if this is like I'm remembering it incorrectly. Were you guys ever booked to play with no use?
Almost.
Because I remember,
That's a story.
yeah, I remember seeing a fucking thing, whatever, where you guys were going to play at the Barbary in Philly.
Yep.
I'm in Philly if you didn't know. But and it was like, yo, who's this playing with no use? Because I was a huge no use fan.
I didn't know
So
that. Was that ever advertised?
it was on their website, if I remember correctly, because that was when I said to myself, who are these guys playing with no use? I checked you out, fell in love with you immediately. The rest is history. But that was where I initially saw your guy's name was on a website at the Barbary with no use for a name. I was wondering if any of those shows ever happened and if you ever had any interactions with Tony.
We did, but not in this band. We
Okay.
played with no use when we were 16. A few because we did a band called Veteran Flashbacks
Yeah.
uh, when we were in our teenage years, and we actually did a bit of touring. We actually played with like I mean we did pretty well for the timing, right?
Yeah.
And we played a lot of shows with Strung Out and all that kind of stuff around the Fat Records bands and stuff. And we played
It's the
with No Use
best.
in San Luis Obispo, and all I remember is they had this amazing talent to stop on a dime whenever a fight started. Right?
Yeah.
They'd be playing like da, 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 and then you'd see a fight and they go bah, and they would stop all together and be like stop fighting, and then they just start again, and it was this amazing talent. I was like, wow, how do you do that?
That's no, that's beautiful. It speaks to one of the better tenets of punk rock. The best punk shows, if you're in a pit, somebody falls down, everyone scrambles to pick that person back up. We're not here to hurt anybody, and I love that. So that I think that was maybe No Use's way of saying that as a band. Like if
Yeah,
we see
they
anything
were
problematic,
they're a
we're
very cool
shutting it
band.
down.
It's a shame it's a shame he's
Yeah. Well, that story, how we wound up on that poster,
Yeah.
was our Time and Pressure EP, and then part of that first record were recorded by Jamie McMahon, also R.I.P. At Motor, and he was good friends with Tony, and he for some reason really liked our band, and so he's like, I'm gonna talk to Tony. I know I can get you a few shows with no use for a name if you'll drive out to do it. And so one night I remember getting a text message or a call like, "Hey, I got it. You got you 3 shows with no use for a name, but they're on the East Coast." And
I
we're
can't
like,
believe
"Oh,
I remember this accurately. This is
yeah."
awesome.
And,
This is
and like
awesome.
we're like, "Okay, we're in," but I don't remember anything ever getting finalized or posters or anything because the way it were, the timing wasn't going to work out, and we were going to have to basically drop everything plans that we had to drive 2,500 miles across with no shows booked and no time to book anything, and yeah, it just wasn't going to work out at that point. But
we
yeah,
did that to play with American Steel.
well, that's up the West Coast. That's different. I mean,
There's a Fat Records blast from the past. American Steel. Wow.
Drove 20 something hours to
yeah,
open for him, and then turned right back around and drove back.
yeah. The next day, yeah.
So did you guys have, is there any, when you're looking back on the things that have happened thus far, are there any tour highlights that come to mind? Time that you spent out on road with a particular band, maybe a good leg or people that you really befriended out on the road, some tour highlights?
We made so many good friends out there. I mean, the outstanding band that that really sticks in my head that I'm still talking to these guys all the time are Uncommon Men from Mars.
Yeah.
That tour through France was outstanding, and not a lot of American bands get a chance to tour France the way we did with a French band.
No shit.
It's
Yeah,
not the same as the rest of Europe. Like people don't really turn out for punk rock, especially if you're Americans. But
Yeah.
being kind of invited to go on tour with them and all these little towns that most American bands don't ever get to play, it was great. It was really wonderful.
yeah.
Cool.
I remember being in a Subway sandwich shop in France with them, right? So we walk in, and I'm looking around, and I'm trying to order a sandwich. I'm trying to be respectful of the French people around. And it's like, La Pan, fucking, I don't know, like, trying to, and I just see this guy go like, they're fucking Americans, right? Like, it just, and then, but the guys from Uncommon are with me, and they turn and go,
Right.
hey, and they fucking start yelling at him in French, like, and then the guy's like, sorry.
Yeah, he's like, don't perpetuate stereotypes here.
Yeah,
These
yeah, it
guys
was
are
so,
Americans.
and it was so good, and I was like, oh, it's so nice to be in France with French people, like, who are your buddies, right? Like, we had a blast with them, and they were the greatest dudes.
Yeah, we had a few good. We didn't do a whole lot of buddy tours. We did the 2 tours with Unco. They came out once to the U.S. and then we did the tour through France with them. Yeah, they were kind of stabbed in back. We had a pretty good run with them through
Mighty
the
Fine.
Midwest.
Mighty Fine was
Oh,
a
Mighty Fine. Yeah, we played a bunch of shows and short tours with them.
yeah.
Yeah, there's another blast from the past. Wow.
How about some of the fest experiences? Anything stood out from playing down in Gainesville?
I remember the last time we played, and I looked out and I saw Daryl from Boll Weevils singing along. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's fucking cool."
Tuck, yeah.
Like,
Tuck that in for when you're in your 70s in a rocking chair for a good memory.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, that made flying out here worth it, right? Like, oh, and we went to Puerto Rico a bunch of times with what are they called?
Decentes.
Vicentes. Yeah, we met
They're
a
decent jerks, but yeah.
decent trick. We met a Puerto Rican band, and they brought us to Puerto Rico, and so we did a bunch of Puerto Rico stuff with them. That was really cool. We became
Yeah.
great friends with them through Jamie as well.
Very, very cool. So let me ask you guys this. No Effects has taken a step back and they've had such an influence on like the state of punk rock. Any thoughts on the state of punk rock as it currently stands in compared to when we were growing up? It's a difficult question. I don't know if I'd have an answer for it. I don't go to as many shows as I used to. I just wonder if you have any insight on that.
Well, that's the thing is that we are way outside of the anywhere close to people who are actually creating the new sound.
Yeah,
We don't go to shows. We're not really active. If I do write a song, it's a song that I probably would have written 20 years ago.
right.
Anyway, occasionally I hear new bands that perk my ears up. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that before. That's kind of cool. But I mean, I could not comment with any authority on where punk rock is today. I mean, I could name like maybe two bands that are active today that weren't active,
Right, right. Like
when I
all the
was in
bands
it
we've been listening
years
to
ago.
for
Yeah,
20
I mean,
years.
to be fair, Jan's always been like this, right?
that's also true.
Yeah, like like when we were 13, Jan was like, "I don't want any new bands," right? Like you're like,
Right.
"All right."
I've got my Dead Kennedys, and that's enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think things evolve, right? Like Turnstile, I tried to get a ticket to go see Turnstile yesterday, and it was sold out in like 10 seconds, right? Like there is stuff. It's not necessarily punk sounding. It's more hardcore. Hardcore seems to be doing well, right? Like hardcore has found an audience and a really a vibrant community where punk still struggles with that necessarily,
Yeah,
but they're rooted in the same thing. But like I've seen the hardcore scene really blossom, and I've seen 90s sort of grunge blossom with kids, right? Which is cool.
yeah,
Like that to me is
for
right now
sure.
what's going on is like you're seeing it's kind of like we're living in like 87, 88, right? Where it's like right before or maybe even 90. Like there's a lot of bands that sound like the Pixies or Nirvana and then like but being played by 18-year-olds. And then there's a lot of like kind of crossover hardcore thrash, right?
Yeah,
But not a whole lot of like new punk stuff. Uh,
yeah,
I will say I went to a Subhuman show the other day in East LA, which is the extremely like far away from suburbia kind of thing. They're very much like Hispanic, entirely Hispanic kind of area. And it was awesome. Me and my friends we met each other there. And usually when we go to shows now, especially for a band like Subhumans that's like in
right.
their 60s, right?
Yeah,
It's a bunch of white dudes standing around drinking a beer, going like, "Oh, I like that song,"
yeah,
right? And this was a sold out show in the middle of East LA, and it was mostly like 18 to 22, 23, and it was like women and Hispanic dudes and like black dudes, like which you used to see all the time. It used to just be a very diverse community, and it was the coolest fucking show. Like people went off. There was so much energy, and you were like,
love it, love
oh,
it.
so the punk scene's still alive. It's just in East LA, right? It's just
Right.
changed sort of demographics, which it was very life affirming to be like, thank God, like people still, and it was like Subhuman. They're like an
Yeah,
ancient band, right? Still a brilliant band, but it was really cool to see like kids like yell, and they played Crass songs before they played, and they were singing along the Crass songs. I'm
yeah.
like, who the fuck are these
Like,
people?
like, more like, thank God I'm in the right place.
But I'm like, okay, someone's keeping the torch, like
Yeah. That is how I feel about it too. Like, who's gonna carry the damn torch as all our favorite bands age? Let me ask you guys about politics a little bit. You guys have fought some fights in your day. My statement that I made in the video was about you guys having an association with Wolfpack.com, fighting against maybe Citizens United, trying to get big money out of politics. Obviously, we've all lost that battle, but you guys were fighting that fight. Was it disheartening? Was it disappointing? What was that like? What you guys went through?
Well, by fighting, you mean like throwing money and time at something?
Yeah, and standing up for something and
Yeah,
saying
okay.
something that other people might hear and adopt.
No, not disappointing at all for me. I had no expectation that it would ever get money out of politics, but if it changed a few minds along the way and created some like-minded people, then great.
Yeah,
That's, I mean, you know, every all I'm going to sound old when I say this, but change is incremental, and it always has been.
yeah,
And yeah, sometimes there's these great moves forward in progressing forward as a society and as a people, but for the most part, it's the change comes from just a million tiny little pinpricks for years and years and years, and nothing seems to move, and nothing seems to move. And when you're 18, it's like nothing's ever gonna fucking change, and then all of a sudden it does, and or all of a sudden you're 40 and you look back and you're like, wow, things are a lot different than they were 20
right.
years ago. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, if you let yourself get frustrated because things aren't changing, then I think you would just give up on the whole project right away. You
For
know,
sure. You have to have like
you
the
know,
proper perspective that like you're not going to be able to do a ton, but if your heart's in the right place and you're saying something real, maybe it'll resonate where it does and it's worth it. When I look at this insane situation that we're in right now, I definitely have harder time staying informed and listening to anybody other than Jon Stewart. Um, it's so upsetting. So I wonder if you feel like inspired to say, you know what, I'm pissed off and I got to write about this, or if it's like, man, this mess has gotten out of control, let it burn.
well, I mean, it hasn't inspired me to write lyrics. I'm upset about it, but I'm not like so viscerally angry about it, because this again was a long time coming.
Right.
If you were paying any attention to the way politics have been going for at least as long as I've been paying attention, this is sort of the direction it was going.
Yeah.
I'm, and I wish I could even say that I was surprised that so many of the institutions that we thought might stand up to this type of thing have just pretty much rolled over and showed their belly right away.
It's crazy, man.
But again, this was foreseen, Khaleesi. Like, you know, if you've read any books about the media, or the anything going back through the 70s, like Chomsky was talking about this
Yeah.
40 years ago, this exact same thing. Well, not this
Exact
exact
same
same
thing.
thing, but for the paradigm of the time of network TV and in bed with corporations, and they pretty much toe the line, the corporate line, and that's the scene is different now with social media and the internet, but it's
It's way
not.
worse. It's just
Yeah. Well, is,
it's
is it way worse? It's just way different. We're still trying to feel our way around this. And in another 10 years, we'll have a totally different understanding and a totally different handle on it. And then there'll be a new insidious threat.
yeah, maybe the fact that it's just so blatant and so obvious, and they're not even trying to hide the corruption.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll finally be, I don't know, a linchpin to something better.
Will it? I don't know.
No, no, it won't be. It won't be. But here's the hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is definitely a depression kind of feeling to the whole thing, right? Like it's hard not to feel it. Like I didn't think I'd see fascism knocking on my door in my lifetime. Like I just I
Yeah,
didn't.
that's a little jarring. Yeah.
Seriously.
I thought we were making progress. I thought we were at least heading in the right direction. There's always been things and problems and
Yeah, especially when
people and things
Obama
that are
got
now.
elected.
Mm.
Yeah, and in a certain sense, like I was being very naive, which I think a lot of us were, that we were actually like, headed in the right direction. But history does have a lot of, if it has a lot of ups and downs and backs and forth, and it hasn't been a linear thing towards progress. Well, it has been a linear thing towards progress, but there's always been backs and forth, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you have these big jumps in like the French Revolution of like people being able to vote or something, and be able to, not just landowning people, like whatever, like, but then things slide backwards, and that doesn't, and then they go forward again, and overall the trajectory of history. Sorry, I'm rambling about this, but I think the trajectory of history is positive, right?
Yeah.
Oh, undoubtedly, yeah.
But it feels hard in the short when you're in it, because you can't see the long view. And I just hope that when we get to be, I have a 6-year-old. Like, I hope when I'm older and I look back, I go, okay, well, it's definitely better than it was.
Right.
Right. And that's my hope. And that's what I feel it will be. But on the way, it's going to feel, like an ass kicking.
Yeah, we're going to have to suffer a little more before we get through.
Well, these fucking idiots are doing everything they can to lose the support of the fucking idiots that voted for them. I mean, what's this anti-porn bill? Like, who came out in droves for Trump in these? It was 18 to 30-year-old like incel types, right?
No, you can't say call them Republicans.
Right.
I'll edit. Don't worry, I'll edit it.
All right.
They're called Republicans.
Hard R.
They're called Republicans. All right, listen, guys. We
just switched our words. You can't.
That works. Make my lips go like Republican. Okay.
So here's the scenario that I didn't want. We're running out of time. Oh, look, my dog wants to say hello, guys. Hello, there's Puppy.
Hello, doggy.
Yeah, she was hanging out the whole time. Okay, so I want to thank you guys for coming on and having a little conversation with me. I hope nothing more. Is there any, as we're running out of time here, any chance that Shell Corporation's still a thing?
I mean, we loosely.
It's possible.
Loosely, it's more of a area issue of where we live right now is the problem.
As long as it's possible.
Yeah, we're all still great friends. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to a show with Sean the other day. I'm going to see Jake at Punk Rock Bowling pretty soon. We're all still pretty tight.
Well, that's awesome to hear. I hope that something happens someday. I wish we could have talked a little more. I should have paid for Zoom to go on longer. Get out of here.
No one wants more than that of us.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Shell Corporation, most underrated band in punk rock, arguably. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks. Great talking to you.
Thanks so much for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
See ya.
Conviction, and that's all right with me.